Iris Huey. I'm a filmmaker and an actress. I write movies, I write and direct. Well, let's see. I studied film at Howard University, and after Howard I graduated, went to New York, tried to pursue my career in film out there, but I was so broke, okay? And I struggled seriously. The job that I had out there for like about 3 months paid me like $100 a week. Okay, that's not even enough to live in Phoenix, let alone New York City. Okay, so I had to come back home after a year, and I was struggling. I was actually trying to go back to go to LA and pursue my career there, but it was hard for me to secure a job out there. So what I decided to do was just, make a movie. I was like, Iris, you want to be a filmmaker, you want to practice your craft, so do a short film. And so I wrote a short film and I shot it out here. So that's kind of how I got started. I started out in high school in drama because I loved acting. In junior high, I did a project in my class, and I ended up having to kind of perform in this little skit. And after I was done, I got all this wonderful response and praise from my peers, and it was just fun. I enjoyed it and they liked it, so I felt like, maybe this is something, I can do. And so in high school, I pursued that and I loved it. But what happened was, I was there freshman year, and we had a project with the video production class, okay? And we did a project together, and they basically directed us in a skit. And I was so intrigued by that aspect of the production that I knew I had to go over there and learn how to, make movies, how to direct. So I knew from then on that I definitely wanted to be a director. I have written and directed 2 films, 1 short and a feature film. Sure, the first film was a short called Scratches. It was about a guy who was a womanizer, and he thought life was all good, everything he was doing was cool. But what happens is he ends up at this open mic, and here's this poem he's doing this poem that's mirroring his life, and he kind of feels like, wow, this guy's talking about me. But he brushes it off and leaves. But everywhere he goes, he's forced to listen to it in some way. It has like a Twilight Zone kind of feel, and he is tripping out. He feels like he's going crazy, and it's basically like, hello, I'm trying to teach you a lesson. You need to learn something. And so that was the message of that film. And the second one is called Second Chance, the feature. It's about this guy who left his girl and his baby shortly after the child was born, and it takes place 5 years later. 5 years later, he decides to go back to have a second chance. He wants to be a father, handle his responsibilities, and be there for his family. So it's really about his struggle to get back in where he's not wanted by the mother. What inspires me? Jeez, that's hard. I think that when an idea comes that really hits me, that I feel connects with me, and I know that it can connect with other people, that inspires me to get it moving, to get it going. Like when the idea of Second Chance came, I had all these ideas I was trying to think of. I wanted to be able to shoot a short film in Phoenix, with no money, just in case I didn't get a budget. At least I knew I could still do it. So when that idea came, I just knew. I was like, whoa, this idea can connect with a lot of people. I know a lot of people can relate to the situation, okay? And I just felt the need to just run with it because it just spoke to me so strongly. Well, before I shot Second Chance, I was in limbo, I had finished writing it, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I really didn't know who was going to shoot it. I didn't think that the person who shot my first film would be willing to shoot like a feature film, with no money up front. Okay, so it was a while that I was just like, well, let me just see. And what happened was I ended up having like a test shoot. I was like, let's just have a test shoot. Maybe I'll test out this other cameraman. But during the test shoot, my original DP said, why didn't you ask me? I was like, you'll do this film? You'll do it? And he was like, yeah. So I was like, oh, that got the ball rolling. To me, I had my DP, so I knew that the film would look good. And so it was just, everything else came together after that. Do whatever you can to get the ball rolling. Handle your part. Do all of your part. And I found that a lot of things tend to fall into place there's especially when it comes to money and this fear of not wanting to move forward because you don't have, everything that you want or everything that you would have desired to be in place before you actually step forward. You just really have to just step forward, on faith and hope. I think that my definition of success was pretty much on the outside of what the outside looked like. Making sure I had, this much money and I was at this point in my career and, just all these outside factors. I didn't really think about myself as a whole. And now I realize that success really for me is just about reaching a level within myself in which I feel happy and loving my life. And if I love my life, that means I'm loving all aspects of my life. And so there are things that are happening positively for me, spiritually, financially, with my career, with my relationships. It's all of that combined. So it's just really about looking at my life and being able to make sure I am on task in all those areas of my life so that I am moving in the direction that I want. And so it's just not, I've reached this, so I'm done. It's like, is my journey, as I'm going on my journey, am I happy? Am I moving in a way that I am feeling good about myself? I learned how to kind of look at things that I was struggling with and not focus so much on the struggle. Not focus on, this isn't here, this isn't here. Just chill a minute, relax. Go watch a movie. Get to a place where you're feeling okay, and then go back to whatever it is you're working on. If it's a project that you want to see come to fruition, make sure I have to make sure that I'm right mentally and emotionally so that I can put the right energy into that. People always ask me that. They say, how do you watch a movie? Aren't you like, look at that, look at that, look at that? No, I love watching movies. I don't even get involved like that. Now, if there's something that stands out to me, then yes, I'll notice it, but I can easily just enjoy a movie just for the sake of the movie, the story. I'm a story person. I love stories, so that's the thing that grabs me and allows me to keep my attention. And the same with books as well. It's easy for me to just sit back and enjoy, and I'm happy about that. I'm glad I didn't get to a point where I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? Look at that shot, and what's wrong here? And, I'm glad that I can just sit back and enjoy it.
Up to.
Oh, that's so easy. That's so easy. Tyler Perry. I just love that he has been able to create what he has been able to create. And I love the fact that he started with nothing. Okay? Because, it's one thing if you have a lot of support and, if your family or somebody's already in the industry and they kind of just help you along. I mean, that's nice for them. But for the rest of us, we want to see somebody who didn't have that. And that helps me a lot because, he doesn't stop. He keeps going and he doesn't waste time. And he did it according to how he wanted to do it. He didn't compromise, and I truly appreciate that. I haven't really had the experience of dealing with a lot of critics, but I think that you just have to kind of take it in stride and not really focus on what they're saying. You really cannot spend that much energy on what somebody else is saying. Now, if there's something in their criticism that you can find constructive, then utilize that. Otherwise, you have to keep it moving. My greatest strength, some people have called me a perfectionist. I tend to think, I'm not quite that perfect yet. Maybe I'll get there. But I like to make sure that if I create a project, all the details are important to me, and I want to make sure they're right. And that is, to me, that's something that's very important. I think that helps to improve, any project that I'm working on. Now, on the flip side of that, a lot of people say that your strength can also be your weakness. Lord have mercy. Yes, it's true, because sometimes I spend way too much time trying to make those details right. And also, sometimes I find that if I don't have the time to make those details exactly as I want, I'm stressing over it. I'm like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I did that a lot on my feature film, Second Chance. When you're working on a limited budget like that, you don't have as much time to create the type of project that you may want to create. There were times when I wish we could reshoot this, but there was no time for that. no money for that. And so I had to kind of like take it as it was and just do my best with that. And sometimes, and that was important to get the project done because it got done. And that was the bottom line. And it was still a good film, and people enjoyed it. People loved it. And so it's, you know, sometimes you kind of have to let go of your strengths or weaknesses, whatever it is, and do what you can to just move forward. Resilience is very important because, you know, there are a lot of struggles that we will encounter, and it can get you down. It can get you down, especially when you are experiencing, when you have to suffer from a major failure, something that you wanted to accomplish, that you put your heart and soul into, and it didn't work out the way you had planned. And so you have to find a way to get out of that slump and start going again. And so I think that is probably one of the most important traits that a successful trailblazer can have. I say just go for it. Let me tell you, I remember I was watching a little clip from Robert Rodriguez, who's a famous filmmaker, and he has these little clips at the end of his films, just little home movies that he produces, and one of his was how to make a movie, and he gave you kind of a little short version of how he did his. And he said, you know what, if you want to make a movie, make a movie. He was a one-man crew, and he made it happen. So I say, use whatever resources you have. Just do that part, okay? Do that part, and eventually you'll see certain things coming into place. Certain people will present themselves, and you'll be like, oh, you're a filmmaker. Oh, you're a camera person. Oh, this. And just start utilizing everything that comes your way, and just go from there.